Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius. As you can see, it's another primetime edition as we're going live on Friday night after a whole day of watching Tampa Bay Buccaneers football, the rookie 2022 draft class, along with a lot of undrafted free agents and players on tryouts as well, too. So we will jump into all of what we saw from day one of Bucs rookie minicamp. I am Matt Matera, and joined with me is none other than SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are you doing on this Friday evening?
Good. It was good to be back at the facility and watching. I guess we can call it football. I mean, I did see some footballs out there. I saw helmets. I saw cleats.
We
We
saw
had some
Buccaneers
jerseys.
logos. We saw
Yes.
logos all over the place. We saw some talent. I mean, let's give some
Yeah.
credit to the 2022 draft class.
Yeah, for sure.
They didn't draft nobodies there, but there was a clear divide of players that are going to make an impact on this team and players that it's thanks for coming out. And I hope you enjoy this Friday and Saturday practice in Tampa.
Exactly. We'll take some pictures of you, with behind the Buccaneer logo. It'd be great to show your kids and grandkids one day. But thanks for your service. We appreciate the tryout guys. Listen, there's just not many spots on this roster, right? I mean, I remember back in the day, in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where, you would expect a handful, 5, 6, 7, 8 undrafted free agents to make the team. And not just get signed, but I'm saying make the team. I mean, there were some undrafted free agent signings that happened this week, 13 of them, that are just they're practice squad players. I mean, I don't know that any of those guys are going to make the 53. There's even some draft picks, I think probably one, that's not going to make the team this year. It's just loaded. The Buccaneers have got a lot of talent across the board. And so we spent a lot of our time, if you've read our insider, our Bucs insider, in terms of the rookie minicamp report, we've got that up on pewterreport.com. Definitely check that out. We'll be talking about some of that stuff, but there's some other details in there that Matt and I and JC compiled. So make sure that you read that article on pewterreport.com. We can probably put that here in the chat, right, Matt? But when you look at the players that we focused on today and the players that we'll probably focus on tomorrow, on Saturday when we're out there for day 2, is the draft picks, right? I mean, those are the players that have a chance to not only make the team, but also to contribute. And it really started with Logan Hall. That was really the guy that we were kind of there to see. And again, with defensive linemen, just like Luke Gadecki, Matt, it's not exactly the primetime showcase running around out there in shorts and jerseys to accurately show trench play, right? To actually and accurately show what offense and defensive linemen can do. But we did see Logan Hall's movement skills today in terms of hitting the bag and the pop-ups and going through some of the agility drills. And you can see the agility and the athleticism that this guy has and why he was one of the more athletic guys at the defensive tackle spot in this year's draft.
That's right. And one of the first things that you really pointed out when we were at practice today, and just for everyone listening that and watching knows, Scott, you focused a little bit more on the defense today because you are a defensive guy first.
Yep.
Defense wins championships.
Thank you.
I watched
Amen.
more of the offense today. And JC was kind of all over the place. He watched special teams. He watched a little bit of offense. He watched a little bit.
He was watching his guy, Jose Borregales. I mean, let's be honest,
the Aurora Borealis, as I like to call him.
That's right.
But Logan Hall, as you said, one of the first things that really, you pointed out was the fact that it was 2 things. One was the fact that he needs to work on that first step, where it was a little bit of an issue at Houston, and it popped up a little bit today as well too. But the biggest takeaway,
he kind of takes a false step sometimes during his pass rush, right? Instead of going upfield, it's almost like a side step, a little bit of a lateral movement, and you don't have much time to get to the quarterback. You want that step to be like into the gap, north south.
Yeah, that's right. But I think the most encouraging thing was the fact that you noticed his redirectional abilities right away, where he can go sideline to sideline if a play is leading you one way and they decide to maybe not necessarily reverse it, but run a sweep the other way, and the offense tries to fool you up front with the blocking scheme, Logan Hall is going to be able to redirect, go the other way, and just use his speed and his height and his athleticism to really go and get after the ball. It's tough with rookie training camp, and you'll see it in OTAs as well too, where you see the star players, and in this case with the rookie class, the star players are the early draft picks, probably 1 through 3, I would say. And they were good picks by the Bucs. It just doesn't make for the most entertaining of times when it comes to rookie minicamp when we're talking about defensive tackle and an offensive guard. So it was Hall making some good plays, making some just technique plays that you liked. And Gadecki, where I was watching a lot of the offensive line, it was, there's only so much you can glean from watching him.
He's hitting the bag.
Hit the bag. His teammates holding it up.
Yeah.
I will say, and remember, he was a former tight end that transitioned to an offensive lineman. You could see the quick feet. You could see that he's got clean footwork, going ahead, going at it right away. He was good on the ladder when the teams were warming up. But then I was really looking too when they were running some drills where the left guard would go and use his footwork and move to the right side. And when you're pulling on traps and things like that, when you're pulling the offensive guard, and I only saw so many reps, but he looked very clean again, doing that, very fluid, was able to move quite well. I think the biggest takeaway from Ledecky, who didn't really play too much during the 11-on-11s, he wasn't out there, even though they had a lot of offensive linemen. And I was a bit curious about that because Logan Hall did get some reps when they went 11-on-11. So I don't know if they just want to preserve Gadecki. As you said, there was no glass on the field, so there was no glass for him to go and eat. But I would say my biggest takeaway, and you could read it in the article that I just posted in the chat as well, too, it was all about Harold Goodwin, assistant coach Harold Goodwin, who he works a lot more with the offensive tackles, but Joe Gilbert he won't be at practice this weekend. His daughter is graduating. I don't know if it's high school or college, but he's going to be at his daughter's graduation. So Goody took over that, and you could see right away, Goody was very loud. He used a lot of expletives that cannot be repeated on this show.
Salty language on a Friday.
Some shiitake mushrooms, things like that.
Yes.
But he was very clearly all about Luke Gadecki. A lot of the offensive linemen, especially, we've spoken a lot about the competition at left guard, even before Gadecki got there. I was thinking Katie Ledecky, the Olympic swimmer. Even before Gadecki got there, there was already a lot of talent on the offensive line, a lot of competition. So a lot of the players in this Bucs rookie minicamp probably on the offensive line won't be either there for training camp or won't be there for long by the time cuts come around. But Harold Goodwin was all over the place with being vocal with Gadecki and tried to make some points across. You could see a video on our social media on Twitter where they're going through the ladders, as I mentioned before, and you see, and it's very lightly, so no one freak out, but you see Goodwin kind of tap him on the head a little bit, talking about what to do this a little bit better. He just taps him a little bit. He had a piece of paper in his hand. So he was very focused on Gadecki. Again, you're not going to get too much information out of just watching an offensive lineman do one-on-one drills, but I don't know, I thought it was at least encouraging moving forward as we get more into the nitty-gritty of this.
Yeah, for sure. And again, with offense and defensive linemen, you're just not going to glean a whole bunch from this because the mini camps, the OTAs, it's flag football is really what it is, And I think JC Allen would agree. Hey, JC, how are you?
Hey, JC. Yeah, it's definitely a little flag football, but I gotta say, looking at Gadecki, and I told this to Matt, I'm like, wow, he's thick in all the right places.
Yeah, he looks the part. There's no doubt.
He's got a nice, ham hocks for legs. He's got a nice rear end. He's just thick everywhere. And I know people are, what are you doing? Look at his butt. But that's what you want to look at when an offensive lineman. He's got the characteristics to be a good one, I think.
And he's solidly proportioned too, right? Like we talked last year about Robert Hainsey kind of like having a little bit of twiggy legs, and that's an area that he really needed to get in and work in the weight room. And this guy is not that. He is just solid from head to toe. And obviously, being from the Midwest, he is corn fed. I mean, he's a hoss. He's a big dude, and it certainly looks the part. That's what you can kind of glean. And I think too that was the thing with Logan Hall. I was really curious because you read these reports. Logan Hall played at 265 last year at Houston, and then he got up to 283 for the Senior Bowl. And I asked him because he looked bigger than that. I mean, I was expecting a little bit more of a slender guy, a little tall and leaner, and that's not what I saw at all today. And I think you guys would agree. It's like this is a guy that is thick. I mean, he's starting to get a midsection, which is what you want. You got to be able to anchor and hold up against double teams, hold your gap, and he definitely looks like a defensive tackle. And Jenna Lane, the ESPN Bucs reporter, a friend of ours, she asked Todd Bowles after practice today about the fact that he's 6'6", he doesn't really fit the prototype of three techniques because he's so tall and long. And really, Todd Bowles kind of took the opposite approach. Bowles said, no, I mean, he is the prototype. He's what you want. It's just there's not many 6'6" defensive tackles out there. I mean, I remember, Jacksonville, they had, Marcus Stroud, who was a big, tall dude. John Henderson was another one. I think those guys were 6'6" and 6'7" back in the day. Keith Millard, Hall of Famer from Minnesota Vikings. He was 6'6". So, and Bowles was even asked about that. And he says, no, that what's happening now is you get those tall, long, big, athletic guys, and they're moving to the offensive side. They're instead of becoming defensive tackles, they're becoming offensive tackles. And I think that's what makes Hall so rare and in Bowles' mind special, because if you can't get to the quarterback with your pass rush, or if it's a quick, 3-step drop and you're just not going to get there anyways, at least you can put your hands up and swat the ball down. And guess what? If it's third down and you bat a ball down, they're punting. And that's almost as good as a sack.
You're making a stop. And that's something, too, that I spoke about a little bit, where JPP didn't make too much of an impact last year, but he was pretty good at getting his hands up. And we spoke about this on the podcast a little bit, too. I can just already picture down the road, it's on Christmas night, actually, when the Bucs play the Cardinals. I mean, you're talking about a tiny quarterback in Kyler Murray, Logan Hall, just putting his hand up. I think he's going to get multiple PBUs.
Anthony Nelson, Will Golston, they're all 6'6".
Yeah, it's going to be trees in the forest, just putting their hands up and getting those stops. And I really thought it was interesting what Bowles had to say about Logan Hall. Here is Bowles speaking about him. It's actually a question that you asked today, Scott, during our press conference with him.
Well, when you walk up to him, he's a big man, first of all. I don't really look up to anybody. Him being 6'6" and me being about 6'2", and I really have to snap my neck to look up at him. But he's a very humble guy, but on the field he works hard. He works very hard, as that shows today. Obviously it's shorts and t-shirt, but we like the hard work in him. He puts in the work, he puts in the time, and I like that about him.
The always comical Todd Bowles saying that, he doesn't really talk to too many people that are taller than him, so he's got to snap his neck all the way up. But as far as Logan Hall, I would say, yes, it's early on. It's Bucs rookie minicamp, but so far, so good. I thought it was cool just watching the whole team stretch and warm up today, and he was, he's talking with Tom Moore, as you see in the picture here, too. Obviously, Tom Moore has been coaching for an extremely long time, and even though he's an offensive coach, there's a lot of wisdom and just insight that Moore can give literally any player that comes into this league. So it was cool to see Hall, who I guess since he was the first pick for the Bucs in this draft, despite it being in the second round, is kind of usually the first pick in any draft class is the de facto leader of that draft class for a team. So I don't know, it was cool to see Hall just take it all in. And that was one of the themes, especially with Rachaad White today, about soaking everything in, just enjoying the reality of being an NFL player and just getting that experience.
Yeah. Before we continue with our Bucs minicamp coverage, a $10 super chat from Leo. We appreciate Leo.
Thank you, Leo.
Super chats. What's going on with the Bucs? Why are we not signing any more free agents when the Saints have borrowed from the future and signed Matthew and Landry? The Bucs are supposed to be all in this year, not seeing it. Okay. Well, all right. Panic. Okay. Well, the thing is to Tyrann Mathieu, good safety prospect. The Bucs just happen to prefer Keanu Neal, and he's a different type of strong safety. I think Tyrann Mathieu is more of a free safety / nickel guy anyways. The Buccaneers opted for Logan Ryan instead, and their free safety is a Pro Bowler and Antoine Winfield, right? So I mean, it's not that Tyrann Mathieu's a bad player. It's just, and trust me, if anybody knows, it's Todd Bowles, right, JC? I mean, he's got more insight into Tyrann Mathieu than anybody. Like, his stepdaughter married him.
Right. It's, there's so many holes on this roster. Oh, wait, there's really not. So I don't understand. We need to sign free agents. We need to sign free agents. We talked about Mathieu and Bowles became the head coach, and he's like, we'll have to take a discount. I don't know if we can offer him that much of a steep family discount, but obviously not. He signed for $11 million a year around that area. And, would he have been a weapon? Of course he would have. But you can't sign everybody, right? And I think right now the Bucs went in the draft, addressed the major holes, and everyone wants a wide receiver. Jarvis Landry is not really a good fit in this offense anyways, but what do you –
I think Russell Gage is better.
Yeah,
I think Russell Gage is better than Jarvis Landry. So
he wants the names. It's every year. Every name that's got, every name that's out there. Everybody wants to bring those names. It's Julio Jones. It's this guy. It's that guy. And that's not how you build a team. You build a team by.
Listen, if Julio Jones was still good, he would be on a roster somewhere. Okay, he's not the same guy, right? It's just like those people out there that say, we need to re-sign Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh. Nobody's asking to sign Ndamukong Suh, okay? He's 35. The film's out there for everybody to see. And, last time I checked, JC, and you made this observation today, this guy's wearing number 90, right? Yeah. They've turned the page on Jason Pierre-Paul. He's not coming back. And I think the only way Suh comes back is if there is an emergency type situation, if there's a drastic injury. Otherwise, I just don't see it. And I don't know what Suh's asking price is. I don't know if he wants to play anywhere else aside from Tampa. If he's just like, hey, if I'm gonna go back and play, it's gonna be with the scheme I already know, with the team I already know. Otherwise, I'm happy, starting my financial future, as an advice giver, exactly on Wall Street. I don't know, but and at some point in time, like the league tells you too, right? The league will tell you when you're done, and sometimes these players don't understand that. But when nobody wants you, when you go unsigned, you're done. Right.
I was banging the table 2 years ago before Ryan Sucker came in for Steven Gostkowski. I'm like, bring him in. And the league decided that they were done with him. One of the most accurate field goal kickers of all time. Yeah. But Cali Bucs brings up the point, about injuries, right? It's about loading up in the event of injuries. Well, that's all good and well, but good luck convincing these veteran players that have been starters throughout their entire career that, hey, you're going to sit on the bench, maybe see like 5 to 10 snaps a game. But, in case of injury, you can get in and start. It's not going to happen. That's how you build. You build the depth. You build from within. You build those guys up. You draft. You develop them. And then sometimes, yes, maybe you can get a guy. I highlighted them and we talked about them, or you and Matt talked about them last week. Some of the guys you can bring in here, or maybe it was Monday even. like a Trey Flowers or Akeem Hicks or Sheldon Richardson. Those types of players that
many guys out there
fine with rotational roles, but we're not going to get Tyrann Mathieu in here. We're not going to get Jarvis Landry in here to be a number 4, sit on the bench. We're not going to. We'll use you when we use you.
And and that's the last point I want to make about Mathieu and Landry going to the Saints. Mathieu was just always going to be too much money. So what did the Bucs do instead? They got cheaper options with Keanu Neal at safety and Logan Ryan, who could play some safety and play nickel. So you got 2 secondary players for the price of 1, with New Orleans going with the Honey Badger. And Jarvis Landry. Let me ask you. Would you rather have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Russell Gage, or Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry? 100
Chris
times
Olave.
100. And Chris Olave.
Yeah.
I still 100 times out of 100. I'm taking the receivers that the Bucs have. So for everyone that's upset about that, just look at what Tampa Bay already did. They just made their moves a little bit earlier, and let's not forget, they still got Gronk on the pipeline. And when Gronk gets here, that's going to be a significant addition. So the Bucs have been making moves. It's just They're not going to be in the line as much as they've been in the limelight with news throughout the last 2 or 3 years. They're not going to be in the news every single day. And today it was just the Saints.
I think people are underrating Russell Gage, how good he can be in this offense too.
I agree.
I feel like that's like severe thing. Everyone's like, Godwin, what about Godwin? He might not be ready. Well, Russell Gage was almost insurance for that because he has the inside-outside versatility. Now, after that, I guess you can make some question marks with Perriman and Grayson, but you have to be impressed by what Grayson was able to do last year. And Matt asked some wonderful questions to the offensive coaches this past week about that and about his progression, and they're very high on him. So maybe there's an option where out there, we're getting past June 1st now. Coming up soon, and June 1st cuts, and then training camp cuts, and then maybe one of these guys, maybe a Julio Jones does decide to come for a wide receiver 4, and you have that kind of balance out. But as of right now, you got to you have what you have.
We're talking about 3 roster spots here. Right. And there's a lot of people out there. What about Scotty Miller? What about Scotty? The team's still high on Scotty Miller, right? He had a significant injury, right? And he's made some big plays before. We've heard both Kevin Garber and Byron Leftwich say that was a bad injury, happened at a bad time, right? And honestly, when he came back, he wasn't the same guy. Now he's had the offseason to heal, and I believe that he could be a 4, 5, or 6, right? Maybe Tyler Johnson gets back to where he was in terms of catching touchdowns and a better yards per catch average 2 years ago than he did last year, right? Remember, he came to camp a little bit out of shape and overweight. That was noted, and he ended up playing a lot kind of by default. But Rachaad Perriman, he did make the touchdown catch, the winning catch against the Buffalo Bills. He didn't do a whole bunch outside of that. Is he capable of more? We'll see. This team is still going to be giving Jalen Darden another shot. They drafted him in the 4th round. Maybe the light bulb comes on for him in year 2. We're talking about wide receiver spots 4, 5, and 6. And you mentioned Cyril Grayson too, who I think probably out of the guys I just mentioned, probably the arrow pointing up, because this is a what have you done for me lately league. And he was the guy that was doing it at the end of the season when AB was out, right? So I think they're going to be okay with their in-house options. Then you throw in Stearns and Tompkins, some of those guys that we saw today, the Texas Tech kid, Geiger, and yeah, and that's Tompkins. He's a very small guy, very small, very thin, fast, probably a little bit lighter today, Matt, after practice, wouldn't you say? He lost a couple of pounds.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, yeah. So for Bucs fans that didn't know, well, obviously because we weren't able to film it at this point or whatever, but they're running 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s, and they're in the middle of it, and one of the receivers started coming a little bit like closer towards us, only a couple steps, and I believe it was Geiger, and he just started puking a little bit. Yeah. He just he upchucked the boogie, as the song goes with Kid Rock, and I'm like, oh my God, he's puking. It wasn't like a Donovan McNabb in the Super Bowl type of puke, right, but there were some chunks on the field, and then he just spit up a little bit. Sorry to get
Tompkins.
Was it Tompkins? Okay.
Tompkins, yeah.
It was Tompkins. Sorry, Geiger. I'm not trying to.
It's not always the best look, right? At your first mini camp.
Traylon Burks threw up everywhere today for the Titans. So
did he? Okay.
And it was a lot more than what Geiger threw up. So
okay.
I mean, that's a number 1 guy who we all would have loved for the Bucs to take at 27.
Yeah.
If he was there, and
leave it to Pewter Report to get into the amount of vomit the wide receivers spew at day 1 of Bucs rookie minicamp, and then compare what Tompkins threw up compared to what Burks threw up. Right, you're only going to get that at Pewter Report.
Nowhere else.
Well, we just report the facts. We just try to give you as much in-depth information that we possibly can. And speaking of going in-depth with information, you got to go in-depth with all the flavors that they have.
Oh boy,
for Celsius energy drinks. I mean, I am rocking I had a Celsius earlier, but I'm also rocking the sparkling pomegranate right now too. And that's the beauty of Celsius, is that there are multiple. You got the orange today. Okay, awesome. But the beauty of Celsius is that there are multiple different flavors. You see it right there, the tropical vibe, the sparkling wild berry. They got watermelon, strawberry, kiwi, guava. The peach vibe is one of my favorites. You can't go wrong with any type of flavor. That includes cola and the Arctic vibe. But as great as the taste is, the most important part and why you're drinking Celsius Energy is because of the fuel it gives you. It gives you that drive to go out and crush that workout, to go and crush your work day, or if you got a long 3-hour drive like I have recently.
Or just wake your ass up in the morning, Matt.
Yeah,
right?
just start your day, substitute it for coffee. You get all of that energy that you want, but none of the, the post-energy drink jitters, none of the crash in the afternoon after you have your energy drink. Celsius, between the flavor and the energy that you're going to get, I would put it up over any other energy drink that you can get at the market. And it's everywhere too. You can go to your local gas stations, bodegas, everything else in between. They have Celsius energy drinks all over the place. So make sure you go to CelsiusEnergy.com. You can also go to Amazon, buy a bundle package there too, and have it sent straight to your door, because Celsius is everywhere now.
Just be careful how late you drink it.
That's true. Yes.
I had some during the
it works too well sometimes.
The schedule game, I didn't fall asleep till like 1:30. I lay down in bed and I told the guys, so I had existential, what is Earth? What is It was great. But I also pumped out 5 stories. So take
That's true. Yeah. You were definitely cranking it out last night. As your Boston Bruins stayed alive.
Yes.
Celtics just like the Tampa Bay Lightning. Staying alive. Stand alive, get 7, here it comes. Stand alive, stand alive. Yeah,
okay.
It's Friday night.
I didn't know we were done.
Yeah, exactly. It's Friday. The vibes are a little bit different.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
All right.
Okay. Well, hang on. Let's talk one more thing about Logan Hall, because there was a comment in here that I wanted to get to, that we were talking about Logan Hall's and let's see where it was.
While you look for it, I just want to say I was watching Logan Hall do some of his drills on the bags and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the get off is there. That get off is legit there. One thing I did notice about him though is, and he's said he's got to work on it. We've all said that got to work on it. He's a little high sometimes. You can play a little high because he's so tall. And me and Scott, both of us saw that. One of them wasted rep with a wasted movement before. So it's just things to work on. But I mean, they're gonna get it.
Yeah, and you know who is like the real adamant one about the pad level? It's not Casey Rogers. It's Lori Locust.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she I've talked to Will Golston about it, and she is just adamant about pad level. Will, got to get your pad level down, down, down. Will, down, every down, down. And so she's going to be, Logan Hall's new best friend when it comes to the pad level thing. I mean, Will Golston will tell him that, look out, here comes Lori, talk about your pad level, because that is her thing, and maybe, and I'm just keeping it real. I mean, she is a female and she is shorter, and so I think that's the positive, right? It's that's what Bruce Arians said. When you've got different people, right, of different races and genders and skill sets and backgrounds coming into the coaching staff to give a full-fledged diverse opinion, that's what she brings to the table, right? She's get down, you're 6'6", that's great. It works awesome when you are reaching out to grab quarterbacks and and trying to bat balls down. But when you're trying to get that initial surge and anchor, hold your gap at the line of scrimmage and all of that, that's one of those things that really come into play, JC, is when you're looking at those big, tall, long-armed defensive linemen. Pad level is everything, right? I mean, it can work for you on third downs when you're holding your hands up, but it can work against you on first downs when you're trying to anchor against the double team and and all of that.
Right, exactly. And it'll be something that he's going to work on. I mean, we said the same thing about Joe Tryon when he was, before he came out. Obviously he opted out for his final season. Yeah. And when he studied the tape, you saw some wasted movement. We saw some high pad level at times, and he worked on it all season while he opted out. And he came in, and you didn't see as much of it. And now they're working with some of the best coaches in the league. Casey Rogers won the defensive line coach of the year just last year, the year before. I mean, they've got some really talented coaches that are going to whoop his butt into shape and make sure that he is playing with his pad level low and that he is not wasting any movements on that first step, because he's got such an explosive one when he delivers it.
I like the fact that he's 290 right now, right? He said he was 290. And again, it's like, I was even kind of worried a little bit, like he played at 265. Actually, Logan today said, no, I played at 270 last year. I'm up to 290 now. Remember, Todd Bowles said, we think he can get up to 295, maybe 300 and play there. And, he's built a little differently than Gerald McCoy. And I wrote about this in the Insider today. But Gerald McCoy was 295 coming out of Oklahoma. Right, there's a 5-pound difference. So when people say Logan Hall is too light to play defensive tackle, 3 technique, and all that, he really isn't. Especially now that he's, listed at 270, yes, but at 290, he's getting up there. And as he gets a year or two into an NFL weightlifting program, there's going to be some struggles this year. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be some ugly plays. It's so hard for defensive tackles to come in and forget the word dominate, to be good. It's hard. I remember Warren Sapp in 1995, my first year on the job, covering what was good. This was a first-round pick, probably should have been number 1 overall. Fell to the Bucs at 12, right? All-American, award winner at Miami. This guy was phenomenal. He had 3 sacks as a rookie. Okay, yeah. It wasn't until 1997 that Warren Sapp truly became Warren Sapp. So it takes some time. I expect it'll take Logan Hall some time too.
Yeah, there's going to be a learning curve for Logan Hall a little bit this year. And we actually spoke to Logan Hall after practice today, where he talked a little bit about just his overall expectations for him in this rookie mini camp, training camp, and for the season coming up.
I'd love to, fix you, do it right. I'd love to, live up to that standard and really perform wearing the number. Expectations for the season, I'm just trying to, fill whatever role I'm given. Obviously, I want to be a starter. Obviously, I'm going to work hard to try to obtain that. But I'm just going to do everything in my power for the team in the season to win.
Another thing Hall was asked about too, I'm curious to get your guys' opinion on it. He was asked about if he spoke with the coaches, and I think we all predict that he's going to mostly be a 3 tech for the Bucs on the defensive line at defensive tackle. But he talked about that he can be versatile. He can move around along this defensive line. Do you see him moving around this year at all? Or do you think that, because we saw it with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, now that was more because he was rotating at outside linebacker because JPP was there.
Yeah.
So they moved JTS inside. Do you see them moving around Logan Hall at all, or just strictly, all right, let's just focus on this one job and we'll worry about the rest of it, in seasons to come?
I think it really depends on what else they do at the position. If they bring in back Sue, if they bring in a guy like Richardson or a guy like Akeem Hicks, I can see them saying, okay, we're going to make sure you learn this position, but we also are going to be able to utilize you in different ways. If not, I think that, they're going to stick him, hey, this is your position. You're going to learn this position. Maybe we'll do some different things with you, but like for the most part, this is exactly what we want you to do, perfect this position. Then next year we'll be able to move you around a little bit. But he definitely has versatility too.
I agree. I'll say this too. I agree with everything you said, JC. So I'll add a different point. Don't get so wrapped up about the depth at defensive line right now, right? Because if you remember, Jason Light, I want to say it was before the 2015 season, 2014, 15, 16. I'm getting old, so I don't remember dates as well as I used to. But he picked up. Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
I'm half
I got my friggin' AARP card in the mail like a week after I turned 50. Like those son of a bitches don't waste any time. It's ridiculous. It's like I just turned 50. Hold your horses, But the thing is Jason Light picked up Jaquez Smith, who was a big-time pass rusher for the Bucs for a couple of years till a knee injury kind of ended his career. The week before the season started, he did the same thing with Carl Nassib, claiming him off waivers, former third-round pick from the Browns. And Carl Nasty became a pretty decent player for the Buccaneers for a couple of years.
Team captain.
Yeah, team captain too. So I'm not going to panic about this. Steve McClendon is another guy that when Vita Vea went down, he traded for. So Jason Light believes in the trenches, offense and defensive line, right? He spent a first-round pick on Vita Vea, right? Defensive tackle. He spent a first-round or almost a first-round pick on Logan Hall. So to me, I'm not as concerned about it. I think what they want to do is have Logan Hall have a starter mentality, a starter mindset, right? Which is different, right? Because when you come in as a rookie backup, even like Rachaad White, we'll talk about him in a second, the running back, he comes in, not as much pressure, right? Because Leonard Fournette's the guy.
Right.
He wants to be the guy, but, you're coming in and you know that you're not the starter.
Right.
I think they want to put, hey, listen, we need you to start. We want you to have that starter mentality, get all the reps you can. And then if they need somebody, you can always add an Akeem Hicks later. You can always, throw a lifeline out to Sue later, et cetera. But you're getting Logan Hall all the reps in training camp. If you're Akeem Hicks, you can come in on a week before the season opener and still play 20, 25 snaps on opening day.
Right.
You're a veteran. Like you know how to play the position. You know what to do. Playing defensive line is not that hard in terms of this is your gap responsibility. When we twist, we're doing this. Is it ET? Is it TE twist? What are we doing?
And at that point, he's just learning the game install. He's not learning the entire playbook. He'll learn that as he goes. So,
Exactly.
I mean, that's yeah.
So
I agree.
I think that's the game plan with Logan Hall is get him as many reps as you can in training camp. Because if you bring in another defensive tackle and you're having one more guy in the rotation and splitting the reps, it's less learning that Logan Hall is getting in camp, and you want him to have that accelerated learning curve, not one that's just kind of like, slow and steady.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think some people just have an issue of we live so much in the moment. We want things right now and right away. We almost forget that, okay, yeah, you still have June, July, and even into the middle of August where you can bring guys in. Scott, you brought up awesome examples of, getting Nassib later, even someone different position, but even like Leonard Fournette. Let's remember, Leonard Fournette came very late into the year. So here's Logan Hall actually talking about playing 3-tech versus moving around the defensive line.
Has Coach Bowles told you at all, like, what your role will be or maybe how much you're going to be moving around, or are you just kind of stay?
As far as I know, right now, I'm primarily technique. Having those conversations with Coach Bowles, I've made it known that I do have the ability to play other positions, and he's recognized that. But this first year, I would think that I'm a 3 technique. Obviously, other things I have to really fill some roles.
What's it been like playing for Casey Rogers, who's not just your defensive line coach, but also co-defensive coordinator?
Oh, he's awesome. He's really cerebral, really good at explaining things. He's funny, really likable coach, and I'm looking forward to getting to know him a little bit better.
Guys, one of the great things about studying, watching tape, and just discussing players on the defensive line, the offensive line as well, is they get nasty in there. They go at it. They bowl over people. But when I like to bowl, not over people, I like to go bowling at. I like to go bowling at pin chasers, as you can see on the screen here, folks. If you don't know about pin chasers by now, you are missing out. They have multiple locations, as you can see on the screen here in Midtown and Veterans. They have one very close to the Buccaneers facility, the Advent Health Training Center. You see Zephyr Hills and East Pasco there as well. But Pin Chasers is more than just a bowling alley. It's a great place to go to have a fun night out with your friends, to have a fun night out with your family. You want to book your kid's birthday party. You got obviously tons of bowling. They have an arcade as well too, so kids can run around, bowl a little bit, play some more video games and everything like that. The food is extremely underrated, and it's great too that you could just order it. They'll bring it right to your lane. You don't even have to get up. You could just sit, chill, bowl, and enjoy some great food. And what's also awesome is that they have different deals literally every single night. They got all-you-can-eat pizzas. They got $1 Miller Lights. They got all-you-can bowl. So make sure you go to pinchasers.net to see what deals they got going on. They have awesome brunch deals as well over the weekend. So maybe you can go this weekend. And with the summer coming up too, we all know how hot it gets here in Tampa. You're going to want to be in a place where they are bumping and blasting that AC. And that's exactly what you get at Pin Chasers. So go to pinchasers.net to reserve a lane or book your party. And you'll be helping out a fellow Bucs fan with Anthony Peroni who has season tickets. So again, go to pinchasers.net to find out more information. All right. We talked a lot about Logan Hall and just overall the defensive line. We talked about Luka Decky as well, too. But I think as far as the draft class, and again, with this Bucs rookie mini camp, you're not going to get too much in the trenches, but you can find some things out about, the skill positions. And the skill position that was on display today and for the scoring points for the Bucs would be running back Rachaad White. And guys, I was watching him. JC, you were watching him as well, too. The first thing we talked about before he even, caught a pass or ran a route or got a handoff was just that, for me, this guy is bigger than what I thought he was, like in person. This guy is built like a brick house. He's got a great upper body. JC, you were wiling out over his quads. Like this guy just has the look. He has the look of a star running back, like more than, and I'm not going to try to diss these guys too much, but he just has that superstar look that Keyshawn Vaughn just doesn't have, or Ronald Jones didn't have. I'm not really trying to knock these guys too much, but it's only one practice. There's a long way to go, but I see something. It's the vibe that you pick up with Rachaad White that you think he's going to do some special things here. And he was picking things up right away, which I thought was really cool to see.
Yeah, and he's not just like big, like built wise too. I mean, he dwarfed. Like he made the other running backs that were brought in, Laird and Jordan Jace, just look tiny. I mean, because he's such a strong build, he's wide built, he's tall built, and he was all over the place catching passes. They weren't really doing too many running plays and stuff like that, but you saw him over in field drills, had good footwork, and I'm excited to see what he can do in pads because Scott put me on to him with the first mock draft. And as soon as I dove into that tape, I was like, wow, this kid's something special. I am so excited to see what he looks like with pads on.
Yeah. And what I like about the kid is the plays are good, right? The highlight tape, once I kind of understood, because I remember the first time I put on his highlight reel. That's what I do first. I look at the highlight reel, see if there's enough traits to get me interested. Then if I feel like he could be a Bucs fit, then I go to the actual game tape. Okay, now show me the bad runs, right? Show me the missed blocking assignment and pass pro. Show me the fumble, right? I want to get a clear look at the kid, but the highlight tape is what kind of sells me. And it's nice to know Bruce Arians has got the exact same approach. That's how he scouts guys too, is show me the good stuff first. If the good stuff is good enough, then I'm interested. But I didn't quite get his running style a little bit. I watched, a 7-minute highlight tape. I think I texted to John and I said, what do you make of this guy? I'm not sure if I love him or hate him, but it wasn't like if I like him or dislike him. It was like, do I love him or do I hate him? And I loved him. I went back and watched it again. I watched some of the tape and he kind of glides. He's just got this like long stride gliding. To me, Matt, and this kind of speaks to your point, he looked like a professional football player playing college football, and it's kind of weird. Like I'm trying to think of some other examples. Adrian Peterson was that way. This kid's not going to be anywhere near Adrian Peterson, but Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry's another one. I know these are more bigger, more muscular backs, but I'm just saying sometimes you see a running back. I thought Kareem Hunt honestly looked like a professional running back at Toledo. But he was in college. But what really stood out to me was, and we all heard the story, and I think a lot of Buccaneer fans have heard it either from our podcast or from the press conference or whatever. But Jason Light was talking about when he came to the facility, he had a football in his hand, almost like the program, the old movie, The Program, where the running back was walking around because he fumbled in the game and the coach made him, here, you take this ball wherever you go to class, all that stuff. And all of his teammates are trying to knock it out of his hand and all that. This kid carried a football around the team's facility on the top 30 visit. Like, what are you doing? Like, I just love having a football in my hands, right? So today, he shows up and signs his contract, right? He gets fitted for his helmet, and then he wants to take his helmet back to the hotel. And they're like, no, you can't take the helmet back to the hotel. Like you said, that stays here in the locker room. And he's like, well, I just want to take it. And they're like, why do you want to take your helmet? He's like, because I want to wear it. Because he hadn't worn a helmet since
The
Senior
the Senior Bowl, which he called the Reese's Bowl, by the way, which I love because it is the Reese's Senior Bowl.
Correct.
So he's just helping out with the sponsorship. And he said too that he wanted to he was watching the Dallas Mavericks versus Phoenix Suns NBA playoff game and the Heat versus the 76ers. And he's like, well, since I haven't worn it since February, like I miss the feeling. He's just a guy that loves football. And everyone says that they love football, but this guy wanted to hold the football, wanted to wear the helmet all the time. This man loves football. And we actually have video of Rachaad White talking about said helmet situation where he wanted to bring it back to his hotel, but fortunately the Bucs would not let him.
I mean, whatever coaches need me to do, like I said, I'm just here every day competing. Obviously, like I said, you got goals and expectations as a player, but whatever coaches need me to do, I'm going to do it to my full capability and my best ability.
Rashaad, what were you planning on doing with the helmet?
I mean, we got, installs and things like that, and sure, I was just going to wear my helmet. I was going to watch the Mavs game last night and watch the other game, the Philadelphia 76ers with a helmet on, the visor. I just wanted to wear it.
You could like sleep with it too? Like, I mean,
if I had fell asleep, yeah.
Did you do that in college? Like, that can't be. I mean, is it that comfortable wearing those? And like, you're trying to watch TV and.
I ain't gonna lie, I didn't do that in college, but I mean, it's been a drought. Like, I was able to have the, luxury to go to Reese's Bowl, so that was the last time I put on the helmet, and that was, February, so it's just been a long time, I feel like, so. I miss wearing a helmet and things like that. So yesterday just happened, things like that. Yeah, I was trying to take it with me, but they didn't let me.
I just love that he said it so nonchalantly, like, I just wanted to wear the helmet. Like,
he was genuinely disappointed. He was genuinely disappointed.
He didn't see like any big deal with it. But I think that just speaks a lot about what we were just talking about, where he loves football and he just has that natural instinct of one of the things that really stood out to me. Well, first of all, he caught every single pass, so he's already a step ahead of Keyshawn Vaughn. But I was almost just as impressed of what he was doing, even when he wasn't on a rep, when he was just standing there. He was pointing things out. All three of us saw it. He was pointing things out. He was talking
glued
to his
Todd
teammates
McNair's
right next
side.
to him. He was talking to Todd McNair, probably asking him questions too. He was just trying to make himself better at literally any aspect that he could. And that was one of the things that really stood out to me more than really any other player that was out there. Like, maybe he didn't necessarily make every single play, but again, it's day one of Bucs rookie minicamp. There's a long way to go, but so far, Rachaad White's got to be up there as like one of the most standout players here.
He's serious about football. Logan Hall is serious about football. Luke Hideki knows nothing other than tractors and football. Right.
He actually was one of the only players, too, Gadecki, to stay late on the field and work on some different technique things and stuff like that.
I mean, that's why you scout these players. You're not just drafting the player, you're drafting the person. And you got to have both, because you can have a good player who has some flash and has some athleticism, but the person can flake out on the team, right? And the Buccaneers, they went through that with Antonio Brown last year in the Jets game, right? I mean, he flaked out. You can't help the club when you're, peace out and prancing around off the field, right? So that's why I'm so high in this draft class, is because they have the guys that have really good ability, but they're really high character, hardworking, serious guys. And JC, with this coaching staff, and I was talking about this with Rick Stroud today, the reason why Tony Dungy was successful, the reason why John Gruden was successful, the reason why Bruce Arians is successful, and why Todd Bowles will be as well, is because you can have a talented roster, right? Players play the game. This is a players' league. You have to have talent. Right. But I've seen plenty of talented players come into this organization, not get coached properly, not get developed, and just flame out and just not live up to the potential. And the reason why Dungy and Gruden and Arians and I think Bowles will have success is because of their assistants. This is a tremendous coaching staff, just like those in JC. Talent is great, but it has to be developed at this level. And And you mentioned Harold Goodwin, out there, and you too, Matt, coaching up Gadecki, right? Casey Rogers. I mean, this is I think almost an all-star coaching staff. And if you get the players that have the work ethic and the talent, these coaches are going to get the most out of them.
Yeah, and you guys said it too. These guys love football. They're football players. And another guy who was, even doing stuff I saw on the side, Cade Otton was taking mental reps. He couldn't be out there because he's recovering from surgery. And we asked Todd Bowles, and he said, he's day-to-day as of right now. But he was over there taking mental reps and kind of slowly doing some walkthroughs as well. So I'm talking to Van Dam a few times. These guys love football, and they want to get better, and they and they want to.
I'm going to apologize to the chat. I made a mistake the other day in referencing Jean-Claude Van Damme. I said that he was French. He's actually not. He's from Belgium. So he was the muscles from Brussels. That was the nickname. So I apologize for my faulty 80s reference. I thought I had it nailed down. I didn't.
That's big of you. It's big of you to admit it.
I try to be accurate.
These guys don't just love football, don't just want to coach. They're striving to get better. And I think that was such a good part of this draft class is we talked about guys with maybe some character issues, here and there that could have, but they stuck to their board and they stuck and they brought guys in who love football. And let me tell you something, nobody showed that more at their press conference than Zyon McCollum. Guys, I don't know about you, but I was cheesing right along with him the entire time. His personality is just infectious. Like he was so excited to be there, and not only was he excited to be there, he showed up too.
Yeah, he's got the athleticism, and whereas Logan Hall's size, his length was impressive, he made a very good first impression. Obviously today, we said that in our Bucs Insider. This kid right here, there's workout warriors, right? There's combine wonders that really can't translate to more athletes and football player. This guy has athleticism that just goes on and on and on. And you saw it in his back pedal. You saw it how he could turn and run with wide receivers. I don't think anybody got behind him. And of course, he's not going up against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin yet. Russell Gage,
5'7" wide receivers. So
yeah. But just the anticipation to to read the quick throw to the flat and anticipate and make a play on the ball. He certainly didn't look lost. It looks like this kid, and you look at the production, 54 pass breakups, 13 career interceptions, the athleticism and the instincts. That's why they drafted this kid. And he's smiling all the time. He's got a thirst for football. He wants to learn. He's got me excited too. I really like the draft class.
He was so happy. It was just awesome to see. Like everyone, as you said, JC, like it was infectious. Like everyone else was really happy to do. Like he was just so appreciative, and it was just really great to see. You can be serious and love football as we talked about, but you could also have a feel for the moment as well too. And I thought one quote that McCollum had that was really cool is he's banking a lot on, or just learning a lot from cornerbacks coach Kevin Ross, where he talked about that Kevin Ross has helped him so much that the field has been shorter for him. And he talked about just how you have so many different assignments and your college asks you to do so many things here, and then you go to the NFL and things get flipped and things go in different directions and they ask you to do different things. And he said that Kevin Ross has really helped him so much with this transition coming to the NFL, and it's still very early, but to shrink the field and have you just focused and honed in on something like that, I think is going to be really important for him, especially because, he's a 5th round pick. And a lot of times 5th round picks, you could get some playing time, but you're a bit of a long shot or, almost a bit of an underdog, some would say. And speaking of underdogs, you got to go to Underdog Fantasy, another sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. As you see here on the screen, they have a $10 million prize going on right now for Best Ball Mania. It's Best Ball Mania 3. And folks, I encourage you to get in on this early as possible, because last year when they did Best Ball Mania, they had a user at Underdog Fantasy. They did their draft in June. and they ended up winning $2 million. I think Underdog Fantasy is so much fun because you can draft players and just set it and forget it. All right. People love doing drafts, but there's a lot of, issues and technicalities of, this player's on a bye week. Who am I going to pick up in free agency? Oh, this player is playing hurt, not getting the production that I want, or they're going up against a really tough defense. Maybe I should switch this out. Nope. In Underdog Fantasy, you just pick your team and they accumulate all the points for every single game. So you don't have to worry about waivers, trades, all this different stuff. You draft your team and you go and you head into the season. And on top of that, too, they have weekly and daily fantasy. So maybe you don't like the team that you drafted a month ago. All right, you're feeling good about week 11, week 12. I like the opponent that the Bucs have. Just play that week. We're gonna have a lot of Pewter Report Underdog Fantasy leagues when the NFL season kicks off, including daily fantasy and weekly fantasy. So make sure you go to underdogfantasy.com, use the promo code Pewter, and get a discount or get a free deposit with your signing up at Underdog Fantasy. So that's underdogfantasy.com. Again, $10 million in prizes if you play Best Ball Mania 3. So why not take a flyer on that? $10 million. Everyone could use $10 million except for like the richest people like Elon Musk and other billionaires. But odds are 10 million. Why not? It's Chris 20. Godwin as well too. Russell Gage, he got a pretty good contract.
Russell Gage has got 10, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's low risk with an extremely high reward. So again, go to Underdog Fantasy for more information.
$10 million.
$10 million.
Check it out for sure.
Okay, Cokeefed, little Cokeefed action. What I noticed about Cokeefed is being from Minnesota, don't you know? Minnesota. He's pale.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's pale. Like, welcome to Florida, dude. Like, you're gonna need some sunscreen. I'm just saying, right? It's like, I mean, I knew he was a ginger, right? But this guy, wow. I mean, he's white.
He's lucky there's some cloud coverage today, because
yes, well said, JC. There was some cloud coverage, and that really helped him. But this is a guy that he needs to slather on some sunscreen. Now, if he was still in Minnesota, he could probably get some NIL money from like Coppertone, right, or Australian Gold, right. And he needs like an NFL endorsement deal, right? He just does, like Coppertone, Sunbum, whoever, right? He needs a sunscreen deal for sure. But aside from his northern skin tone, which he's going to get a tan out of here. I mean, not a tan. He's going to get red. But
look as red as those numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Good thing he didn't wear the red jersey today. Like, he was in the white jersey, as you see there. If he was in the red, it would have even looked even worse.
Yeah.
He's going to be one freckle by the time training camp's over. That's what's going to happen. Just look at Ryan Jensen's darkest he's ever got, which is not dark at all. And
exactly.
That's what we got from this guy.
Yeah. I mean, we're saying this now, and Cokeefed is going to hear this and completely kick our ass. Like, we're frigging dead meat for poking fun of his melatonin here. Or with melanin. I think I said melatonin because I'm almost ready to go to bed, fellas. It's past my bedtime on Friday night. It's 8:30. I want to go to bed soon because we have day 2 tomorrow. Right. But no, I think that again, you're not going to see the real Cokeefed until the pads come on. This is a guy, right? And like when we walk into the Bucs locker room, which we're actually going to do this year, I believe, after 2 years of not being in there because of COVID. I think we actually get to walk in. They've got like a little clock, right? And most football programs have this countdown to, the next opponent, and a countdown to opening day, whatever. He's got to have countdown to the first day of pads in camp.
Yeah.
I bet you he's already asked Todd Bowles, when does training camp start? Okay, great. All right, so I got that date. When is reporting day? Got that. Okay, now, more importantly, when is the first day pads come on? That's what he wants to know, because that's where you get to see the real Cokeefed. And we saw him catching some passes today. Great.
Yeah, they were like 2 yards out into the flat. It wasn't. He made as many catches. He made as many catches today in practice as he did all of his last year at Minnesota. So I guess that's an improvement there.
I want to see the kid block, because what I wrote in my SRS Fab 5 in last week about Cokeefed when I was watching some of his tape is that when when he blocks, it's almost like if you watch like one of those rom-com, like the romantic comedies, right? Where it's like, they're at a prom or they're at, whatever. And like, there's a spotlight on the guy and the girl, right? And everyone else is like, not even there. I mean, they're there, but they're not even there. When O'Keefe, it's like when he's got his opponent, right? Whether it's a linebacker, defensive end, whatever, it's like all of a sudden there's a snap of the ball and it's like, well, I've had the time of my life. I'm going to block you into the ground, you bastard. You're not going to get my quarterback or my running back. And it's what he does. Like, he just will literally just bury you. And it's like there's nobody else out in the field. He will literally just lock onto his guy, and the other 20 players on the field don't exist. They don't matter. And I love that about the kid. I'm waiting to see it.
Yeah, he's just a football player. He's a football. He came up for his press conference, and the first thing I asked him was, "How was your first day of minicamp?" He's like, "I'm just happy to be back on a football team, to do anything I can to help this team win a championship, to get back to the Super Bowl." I was like, "Oh, but how was your first day?" And he's a football guy. He's a team first guy. He's going to do whatever he can to help the team. And he said that too. Yeah, Minnesota, they asked me to block, so I just did it to the best of my ability. And the best of his ability was the best in the nation as a blocker. He's just a nasty guy, and I can't wait to see him side by side with Ryan Jensen. I'm so excited for that.
I'm telling you guys, we talked about it on the other podcast where we were talking about the FU blocks. We have to have an FU block counter for this season, and O'Keefe is going to be involved. And at the end of the year, we will keep track. We will count up all the FU blocks.
Right.
Kind of like if you made a lot of money, you would count up those stacks of cash in your hand. And if you're gonna put your money in a safe and secure place, Scott, I believe the place you would go to is Immuni Financial.
I think you're right.
Wow. Wizard.
I went to commercial or shy?
You can hit the commercial. I was at the picture.
Oh, okay, no worries. If you get the picture, I'm going to hit the commercial. And here we go.
At Immuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Dude, congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you. And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track, so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Immuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Matt, JC, I say it all the time, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Colorado.
But it has to be reiterated.
It has to be. We have to get to Colorado, and
Need to.
And the best time to do it is not just for like a little weekend vacation or going to go for a week. No, like you want to be able to go there and enjoy like a 2-week vacation, right? We're talking about like when you retire. I'm much closer to retirement than you guys, right? I get that. But the thing is it's never too early to start planning your retirement, because the earlier you start, the chances are the more money you're going to have for your retirement. Managing your family's wealth means more to Immuni Financial than simply allocating your assets. It means legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts, and insurance services. With 40 years of experience, do what I did. Folks, I literally have Immuni Financial in my financial corner. It's where most of my financial investments are. I've been thrilled with the advice, the guidance, and the money that I've made for my retirement accounts and for my college savings accounts for my kiddos. Call Immuni Financial, 1-800-868-6864. Visit immuni.com. Even if you already have a financial advisor, even if you already have a brokerage company that you work with, it doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. This is your finances we're talking about. This is your retirement we're talking about. It's a free, no obligation consultation. Give them a call, 1-800-868-6864, or visit them on the web at immuni.com. You'll be glad you did.
All right, guys, as we begin to wrap up the show, I do want to give a quick shout out to some of the undrafted free agent wide receivers. We mentioned them earlier, but some of the guys that really stood out was Jarrett Stearns. Again, 5'7", he was wearing number 9. Obviously, very fast, great athleticism, was leaping up, making some catches, but he really made a lot of good receptions, like in traffic with multiple defenders around him. I know he's not the prototypical size that Buccaneers front office and coaching staff would like to see, but he was fast, and I thought he was impressive. Cameron Brown, JC, you had an eye on him. Devin Tompkins as well. Thought they ran routes pretty well and stood out more than some of the other receivers that were out there. Just overall, just looked comfortable. So those were some of the wide receivers that I think
and the quarterback
made a
play,
statement, but
we should know
the quarterback play was just really bad. And I don't, again, anyone trying to make it to the NFL level, all the respect to you, but there was passes completely, over guys' heads, out of bounds.
Yeah.
Ones where they threw it and the receiver had to like legit stop and make the catch and then like keep going. So the quarterback play was very bad. And that hurts the receivers,
It does,
You need a solid quarterback to help you out. But I thought some of those receivers still
I think these receivers, especially the guys you mentioned, right? The signed undrafted free agents, the guys that are going to be in the OTAs, right? I think when they have the likes of even Kyle Trask, Ryan Griffin, Blaine Gabbert throwing the ball, they're gonna be like, "Oh wow, it's a spiral! It's right in my hands!" Like, wow, he led me to the spot and I caught it, right? So, I totally agree, Matt. It's hard to get a great clean look at some of these guys because the quarterback play is just they're tryout guys.
We did have one interception. I forget the guy's name. Sitting, maybe, I think it was
something with an S.
Yeah, something with it. One of the safeties with an S.
Spillum.
Yeah, Spillum.
Yeah, Spillum. Yeah, so he had an interception. I think. And
again, it was a bad pass that went off the receiver's hands because he had to adjust to try to make the play.
It was not good. But and that too, Andre Anthony, the Bucs 7th round pick, he would have had a nice sack if it were live. He had a nice what was it, club rip move, right, Scott?
Club rip on a player who will probably be selling insurance in a week.
Yeah. So I mean, he had nice. And guys, I saw some people asking about it, and I after the grinding the tape, I'm sure you guys are all stoked to see how Camarda did, and we put some videos up on the Twitter feed there. Man, I counted one of his punts, and I was like 1, 2, 3.
He's got some hang time.
He had some hang time for that for sure. And it was like a 46, 50-yard punt too. It wasn't like a cheap little punt. Man, this kid, and I watched him hold for a majority of the time too. Not every snap, but he looked very clean, had laces out. So I mean, this kid, opinion better. I mean, if I thought it was going to be a competition going into camp after watching him punt today, I'm very impressed with his punts. Much like I am about Jose Borregales and his kicking game.
Waiting for you to say that. You're watching the specialist today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Folks, we watched it all today, even though we didn't want to watch some of it because there was some bad football. But that's to be expected when you have a bunch of tryout players during Bucs rookie minicamp. The great news is we're going to be back there tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about it on Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. That's the next episode of the Pewter Report podcast. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on a Friday night. It's been fun doing a couple of these primetime shows. And if you wanted to hear my thoughts on the schedule, I wasn't on the podcast last night. You can read about it in my new SR's Fab 5 column on pewterreport.com. We've got a ton of content up there today. We have even more coming Saturday and Sunday. So this is not a typical weekend when it comes to content. We're going to have a bunch of it this weekend because there's a bunch of stuff to talk about from this Bucs rookie minicamp, plus the schedule that just got released last night. So it's been a fun week here on pewterreport.com. We appreciate you being a part of it, watching all these great Pewter Report podcasts we do. We appreciate everybody who subscribes. We're on our way to 8,400 now, thanks to you guys. If you have not subscribed to Pewter Report TV yet on YouTube, please do it because it helps us out. And it really helps us out whether you're a subscriber or not, when you hit the like button, because when you do, it helps our algorithm on YouTube, helps us get in front of more Buccaneer fans that are as cool like you, and we love the Pewter people. So please help us out. Please help our YouTube channel grow. Appreciate everybody out there tuning in to us on Pewter Report TV. The Pewter Report podcast will be back on Monday, 4 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to be doing roll call, right, Matt, on Monday?
Roll call,
so
yes, we
roll
will.
Call 420 on Monday. So make sure you are there. Folks, have an enjoyable weekend. Check out pewterreport.com for more of the Bucs rookie minicamp coverage as it comes to you tomorrow. So for JC Allen and Matt Matera, I'm Scott Reynolds saying have a great night, and we'll see you on Monday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast.
Enjoy your weekend. Out.